This is SewEasy's double-sided fusible cotton batting. Now it's a beautiful soft batting and it's got a light application of glue on both sides of it. So when it's ironed between two layers of fabric, your fabric is then basted together, ready for quilting, and it eliminates the need for pins or basting spray. So it's nice and quick and easy. Now just to show you how it works, I've got my piece of backing there, and there's my piece of batting and another layer of fabric on top, like that. Now set your iron to cotton with steam, and just a matter of 3 seconds, like that. And if you want to make sure that it's nice and secure, you can just flip it over to the other side and give it a press on the back. Now before you begin sewing, let it cool down. So let it rest and relax and cool down before you start stitching. Now a couple of really interesting points about it is that you can reposition it. So say for instance you've ironed it in the wrong place, you can just peel that back, smooth it over as to where you want it to go, and give that another press like that. It's got a lovely loft to it, and also once your quilt has been washed, the adhesive or the glue washes away and the quilt softens up and it has a beautiful luxurious drape to it. I must say Fusible batting is a personal favourite of mine, and I do use it quite a lot on my Quilter to Go quilt. So as you can see, this quilt in the background here, it's made using a very quick stitch and flip method, which I'm just going to show you a very quick version of right now. So I've made a couple of little blocks up here, just working in a smaller size. Now to make this quilt here, what I've done is I've used the 3+, SewEasy's 3+ ruler, and I've just cut lots of 2.5 inch wide strips. Now to work economically with my fabric, I've cut backing squares that are 10.5 inches wide. Now that will mean that you'll be able to get 4 across the width of your fabric. So just cut as many as you like. It's just a really simple, scrappy, strippy quilt with the 2.5 inch strips sewn on top. Now my next step would be to cut a piece of batting, which is also 10.5 inches square. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually iron the backing fabric and the batting together. So I'm just going to layer them together like that, and then I'm going to flip it over so that my backing fabric is on top. Now you can just use like a cloth on the ironing board, but I will say that the batting doesn't leave any messy glue left on the ironing board. So you can just give that a press like that, and then you can just peel that off the ironing board and let that cool, and in a few minutes you're going to be right to start sewing. Now to stitch the strips on, as I said, we're going to use a stitch and flip technique, and that's a technique where you're basically piecing and quilting at the same time. So what I'm going to do is, because I've got 5 strips on here, I'm actually going to start with my center one and work out to either side. That way I know that they're going to end up being stitched on evenly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, with my quilt, I just want to find the center there. Now I just need my pencil, here it is. Okay, so you can use a ruler or you can just fold in half and just make a little mark at the top edge there with your pencil to find the center, and at the bottom edge there also to find the center. Then from there you take your center strip, so in this case it's going to be my green one. I just want to find the center of this. I'm just going to fold it with the right sides together. I'm going to put a little finger crease there like that, and then I'm going to do a little finger crease there on that side, and then I'm just going to position that onto my batting and backing, lining that strip up in the center. Now to hold that in place, because we're using fusible batting, I'm going to lightly iron that in the center. Now I've just only used the tip of the iron, and I'm also making sure that the iron is not touching the batting just on its own. Now my next step from there is I'm going to take my next strip and I'm going to put that right sides together with the top strip. Now to sew this, I'm actually going to mark a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance using the 3+ ruler. So I'm just going to pop that onto the strip like that, lining up the edge with the edge of the strip, and I'm going to come along and just using a nice sharp little pencil there, I'm just marking in my scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then I'm right to stitch down there. Now just to show you one that I've started earlier, on this side here you can see I've stitched that there, so I've stitching through the batting and the backing and the top strips, and then you flip that over like that. So once you flip that over, to make sure that that's going to sit nice and straight and stay in place, you can give that a press. As I said, once again making sure that the iron doesn't touch the batting, and then I've done the same to the other side. I've stitched and I've flipped, and then I can press that so it's nice and flat. Just a light press is all that is required. Now, to sew your edge strips on, it would be the same thing again. Take your strip, put it right sides together, mark the scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, if you don't have one of these, you should get one. They're very handy. When you're stitching, you want to actually sew with your walking foot attached, because you are basically, as I said, you're piecing and quilting, so you've got all those layers to sew through. So I've marked my scant 1/4 inch seam, and I'm going to stitch down there, and then I'm going to flip that over like that. And because I've been nice and precise, that piece will come out and be the same size as the edge. So therefore you would just make up lots of blocks like that, whatever size you would like, and then join them together, quilt as you go. So I'm not going to leave you hanging and saying, how is she going to join these together? I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. Basically what you would do is, when you put your blocks together, have one going up and down and the one next to it going across. So a very simple quilt as you go technique, which there's lots of different methods that you can use, but this one here's been around for quite a while. Basically what I'm going to do is, to join it, I need a 1 inch strip for the front, and then for the back I need a 1.5 inch strip for the back, which I have pressed in half like that. What I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to take my top strip and I'm going to put that right sides together with the top fabric, aligning all of the edges. And then I'm going to take my back strip and I'm going to put that right sides together with the back. Once again, aligning all edges. And then I'm going to pin all of those layers together. And we're going to sew this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so you can either use your 1/4 inch foot, or once again you could mark that line with your 3+ ruler and mark in your scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll just show you over this way here, pinning all of those layers together. Great quilt for using up your stash, this one. You can use all different fabrics on the back of your quilt if you want to. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is, I'm going to leave the back strip where it is at this point in time. So let's say I've stitched that there with the scant 1/4 inch seam. Then I'm going to flip my top piece over, and then I'm going to put that next to the edge of my other piece that I would like to join. So just flip the top piece over, put the two pieces right sides together, and then I'm going to pin the right side of my strip to the right side of the other block. Pin that together, pin and stitch that together. Just like that. Once I've stitched that, you'll then see, when you open out the front, with that stitch, that's going to give me a very nice, neat little 1/2 inch wide strip. And then on the back, I'm going to take my back strip and I'm going to fold that over the join. That will meet the stitching line, and then you hand stitch that little bit in place there. You could also machine sew if you were quite a precise machine sewer there. So there you go. So that's a really simple little idea, stitch and flip, scrappy quilt using the SewEasy double-sided fusible cotton batting. This is SewEasy's double-sided fusible cotton batting. Everything you'd like to know about the batting is available in this handy leaflet, which you can pick up from the store where you purchase your batting. You can also download it from SewEasy.com. It contains everything you need to know about the batting, such as interesting facts that you can pre-rinse in cold water before using it, and it will still be fusible. It's 100 inches wide, and just information on quilting, so you can quilt between 4 to 6 inches apart or as close as you like.